It is the Martha Zoller Show. Sitting with me this morning is Derek Dooley. Welcome.
Yeah, Martha, thank you for having me. It's good to get out and people start learning who I am and what I'm about. So I appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely. And we are very happy to have him here today. And what we're going to do so that we can get the most questions in and the most of the time that we have with him between now and the bottom of the hour, if you have a question for Derek Dooley, please text it in at 770-535-2911. And then I will ask the question of him if we can work it into the conversation. But this is an informational thing, and we're going to learn a lot about Derek Dooley this morning. Derek, first of all, there's probably pluses and minuses with having a name that everybody knows. So tell us a little bit about you and your family.
Well, of course, I was born and raised right in Athens, Georgia. I went to Clark Central High School and just had a tremendous experience. A lot of people ask me, what was it like growing up with someone like my father who served this state for over 50 years. But I didn't know any different as a kid. I mean, you just grow up, you have the same friends as everybody else, and you go to high school like everybody else. But what you did learn was you learned a lot through an example, and you watched how both my father and my mother interacted and led and had so much respect for everybody they encountered, how it had so much devotion to service to the people of the state. And you don't realize it's making an impact on you until you get a little older and you start really trying to do it the same way they did. So, listen, I'm very fortunate that I was able to grow around two parents like that. But hopefully someday I can sort of be the same kind of example for not only my kids, but for younger people in general.
So tell us about your family and your journey here.
Of course, my wife, yes. Allison, yes, we met. She actually is a doctor by trade, and most people don't know that I'm a lawyer by trade. So there was a point in my time, I was at Georgia Law School, and Allison was at Medical College of Georgia. And, of course, we were going to live happily ever after as a doctor and a lawyer. And something started pulling me, Martha, when I was practicing law. It wasn't really what I was looking for in life. I wanted to lead and try to make a more positive impact in a different way. And, of course, I played football in college, and I grew up around the sport and just have a real passion for not the game itself, but just what the game does for so many people. And so, hey, I went from billing hours to making coffee in my first job in Athens, Georgia, between the hedges for Joe Kynes, who was the defensive coordinator. And so that began my journey. I started at the bottom and ended up having a great career.
So you did end up at Tennessee, right? And,
Of course, that's the lead. After I have a 28-year career in coaching.
I know, but
I spent 32 months in Knoxville, Martha. That's all anybody wants to talk about.
That orange.
I know it.
It doesn't look good on anybody.
Well,
I can understand why you had to get out of there.
Yep, that's right. One thing, I guess the Georgia fans probably didn't mind me much because they whooped up on me pretty good. But I also wore some purple at LSU, some crimson at Alabama. I wore a little gold in Missouri, and so, yeah, I traveled around the SEC and traveled around the NFL. I spent 9 years in the NFL. I was a 6 as a head coach and 9 years with Nick Saban, which many people will say that was my greatest accomplishment, being able to survive Nick Saban for 9 years.
So what do you think that tough life, because it is a tough life. If you look at anybody that's been in the coaching world, they're a lot of times changing jobs every year. They're moving sometimes every couple of years. You're moving your family around, you're moving your loyalties around, you're moving all this stuff. How do you see that relate to what you've learned so far in running for the United States Senate?
Well, interestingly, in football, you have sort of three constituents that you serve every day. The most important one is your players and their families, and those are the ones you're putting all your energy in. Those are the ones that you need to build a level of trust from people from all walks of life. It didn't matter what their race was, their religion, their politics, their income level. None of that mattered. You had to build a level of trust. You had to inspire them, and you had to work hard every day to try to make a positive impact in their lives. So that's no different than the people of Georgia. And so there is a lot of carryover from that standpoint. Of course, as a coach, you're always needing a lot of help financially. And so there's a lot of boosters that you need to meet and interact with. And as you know very well, Martha, I've learned that's a very important part of politics. And then, of course, there's the media, who you deal with every day. Some of them, of course, very positive, but most of them, they're trying to rip you up pretty good, and I had my fair share of it in 28 years. So there is a lot of carryover as it relates to people, because I may not know, quote, politics, as people say it, but I do know people. And that's what I've been doing for 30 years, and I think that's why once I get out and roll up my sleeves and start connecting with the Georgia people, they'll see why I'm doing this.
So I'm on a show on Fox 5 Atlanta called The Georgia Gang, and this past week, Phil Kent, who I've worked with for 30 years, he's a good guy. He told a story that you were on a trip in South Georgia, and agriculture is the number one business in Georgia, and that you said something like you didn't know what an H-1A visa was. Could you just share what actually happened and tell your side of that story?
Well, that's not what happened at all, and I do know what these visas are. I have been rolling up my sleeves and going all over the state, not only to spread my message, but to also learn more about what's going on with our industries, what's going on with the employers who are job creators, and how the federal government can help most. And, you know, our work and our labor force down in agriculture and in a lot of other segments in South Georgia and the coast, whether it's hospitality or construction, all these work permits and visas are a very important part of their labor force. And we got a lot of problems we need to continue to solve as it relates to the cost of doing business, as it relates to recruiting new labor. And so I'm naturally going to ask questions. To sit here and think that I'm going to go down there and know their business better than they do is a little bit ridiculous. And so, of course, I know what they're dealing with, but I don't know it in the way they do. So I'm asking a lot of questions, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can so I can better serve the people. And that's what I think we're missing. I don't think enough legislatures up in D.C. listen to the people of Georgia and truly try to help solve their problems. And so that's what I'm going to try to be as a candidate.
Well, and I tell you what, I think that we're in a unique position because we have essentially secured the border in President Trump's second term. And now we can really look at the problems we have with legal immigration. And I would challenge you, if you get elected to the United States Senate, that my old boss, David Perdue, had a fantastic bill to fix legal immigration called the RAISE Act. I'm not going to expect you to know about it, but I would love to talk with you about it at another time, because we got to fix legal immigration because of the stories you're telling, just like you're telling about how in agriculture there's a certain need.
Yeah, but Martha, let's don't put the cart before the horse. I mean, just because the border's closed doesn't mean we have solved the crisis we're in right now. I mean, there are still thousands, probably even more than that, of illegal immigrants who are violent criminals who are trying to wreak havoc on our communities, and we need to keep fixing that problem. I mean, that's the most important thing, is keeping our communities safe. So just because nobody else is coming in, we can't ignore the fact of what the Biden administration did and what John Ossoff supported in letting all these undocumented people come in. We have no idea who they are, what their motives are, and that doesn't mean they're all bad, but there's a whole bunch of them trying to wreak havoc, and we need to get them out of here.
So I think you've been in this race roughly, a week at this point in time. You talked probably to a lot of people.
It doesn't feel that way because there's never been a candidate who's not a candidate and never been in politics get attacked more in a 3-week span.
So tell me what you've learned as you've gone around.
I think it's funny, on announcement day, we announced on Monday, and people are saying, man, I don't know anything about him. I feel like they're hiding him. And I'm like, good Lord, I've only announced today. I'm ready to get out and tell my message. So what have I learned? I think more than anything, I learned how much I'm really enjoying doing this, because it's something, I love helping people. I love learning about people. I love interacting with people, especially people that really don't think like me in a lot of ways, because you can learn from everybody. And so to try to be able to be someone that they want representing you in their state, leading them the way they want to lead, and try to help solve their problems, that energizes me every day.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. We're here with Derek Dooley live in the studio. We got several questions for you, Derek. Thank you for being here.
All right, Martha,
Thank
fire
you.
away.
Yeah, so John in Gainesville said, I like the idea of a conservative outsider, but I'm concerned Derek never supported Trump publicly until now. Can he tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I probably went 20 years, Martha, where I didn't vote for a president. And I was immersed in my job as a coach. I was putting all my energy on the players and their families and trying to make them better. But COVID changed me, all right? And, I saw things happen during COVID that I never thought I would see happen in our country, from the lawlessness that was going on, from all the government intervention and overreach and lack of transparency and censorship, the border pouring wide open, I could go on. And it really jarred me in a way that I said, I got to get my butt in the game in a little bit. And that's when I was so frustrated with leadership. We came back home. I supported Governor Kemp because I was so inspired by his leadership. I mean, what moral courage he showed during COVID to open our state up, open our parks up, and that takes leadership. And then voted for President Trump in 24. And so I'm proud of both of that. And that's what it is. I mean, I can't change what I did. I was just immersed in my job. It wasn't that I was not paying attention. But the COVID, when I saw what could happen, and we need to get more active in being a part of this change, that's what got me going. And that's what motivated me to do this.
Jeff in Oconee County said, Mike Collins and Buddy Carter have been very accessible and visible around the state. Will we see the same from you?
I hope more so. Every Sunday night I get in my truck and I'm driving all over the state all week. And I've been doing it for the last 3 weeks, meeting with so many different groups. Part of it's been fun to reconnect with so many old friends that I had over the years of being in Georgia. And then also meeting a lot of the new business leaders, law enforcement, community leaders, hardworking Georgians, everybody. And so I'm going to be out there as much as I can to roll up my sleeves. And that's important for me because, listen, you have to earn it. I mean, it's no different than football coaching. All right, nothing's going to get handed to you. You're not entitled to anything. You got to go out there and earn it. And I plan on doing that to the best of my abilities.
So this question doesn't have a name, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Your question,
Anonymous.
Yeah, question for Coach Dooley. What's your argument that you deserve the job more than Mike Collins, who passed the Laken-Riley Act, and who most agree has been an effective member of Congress?
Well, listen, Mike, Buddy, and I, we just come from different worlds. And the Laken-Riley Act was great legislation. We needed it. But we got a lot more work to do as it relates to some of our immigration issues that we were talking about. And there's a lot more work to be done. But I'm not a typical politician. I mean, I have a lot of frustration with what's going on in D.C. I think too many people up there, they're up there too long, they do too little, they don't get enough results, and they make too much money. And I think they become more focused on their careers, their next reelection, their personal ambition, than they do serving the people of Georgia. And that's what I'm in this for. I'm not in this for some incredible political career. I'm here to serve the people of Georgia, listen to what they need, and have the leadership and moral courage to do what's right for them.
So I've written a column a couple of years ago about the Senate, and I called it Caucus Over Constituents, where the big problem, I think, with the U.S. Senate is they care more about the caucus than they do about their constituents, and you see that in Senator Ossoff a lot. I mean, I think he's a nice enough guy, all of that, but he hasn't voted with Georgia on a number of issues.
No, I mean, when you vote, 98% of your voting record is for the Biden administration, and then you turn around and everything you're doing now is resisting every bit of progress the Trump administration's making. I mean, there's no way he actually believes in these votes. I mean, I'm a common sense guy. I'm like, you can't actually believe that. If you do, then you definitely need to be out. And if you don't, it means you don't have the moral courage to stand up and say what's right. And that just doesn't make sense to me. I don't come from that kind of world.
So we had a question that came in and said, do you support Governor Kemp's Life Act, the abortion law to protect life?
Well, what I will say is, this issue has divided our country for my entire lifetime, and neither side budges. And so I stand firmly with President Trump and the Supreme Court that it's an issue that needs to be decided by the states. And the states are better equipped to get a bead on their people and what they want, and they can move a lot quicker than the federal government. So I'm a firm believer in that, and I'm glad President Trump and the Supreme Court push for that, and that's what Governor Kemp ran on, that's the legislator ran on, and that's what the people voted on.
So what do you want people to know about you? We've got about a minute and a half left. What do you want people to know the most about you?
I think the biggest thing, everybody tries to pigeonhole me into something, but I've been very blessed to have a tremendous amount of experiences in my lifetime. I've been a lawyer, I've been a head coach, I've been an athletic director, which is a whole nother job as far as a business standpoint and budget standpoint and staffing standpoint. I've had tremendous experiences over 30 years, and I think that equips me to better understand people, to better relate to people, to be better equipped to find common ground and find solutions. And so that's really what I'm about. It's not, oh, he's this or he's that, he's this, he's that. I think that I have a real breadth of experience that's going to help me be a great leader for our state.
If people want to help you, how can they do that?
DooleyforGeorgia.com. Martha, one of the most distasteful parts I'm learning, there are parts of this politics stuff I'm definitely learning. One of the most distasteful is probably the most important early on especially, and that's the fundraising piece. And so what I ask is, if you believe in what I'm doing and you believe in that we need a little change in D.C., please go to DooleyforGeorgia.com and donate, and I won't let you down. I promise you I won't let you down. More importantly, get your friends and family to donate as well.
Derek Dooley, thanks for being with me. The first interview, but we'll see you a lot.
First of many, Martha. Thank you.
Absolutely.